Let's go. Well, hello. And welcome to the Inside Star Citizen Review, Star Citizen's longest review show focused on development and us discussing everything: the demeanor of the employees, the revenue, the financial side of things, the game development, the mechanics, the design, every single portion of what we watch. We always talk about here. We discuss it in our Discord. Check out the link below to join our fam and get in there and become an algorithm. And tonight, I have to say, I've been waiting all week to be here with you. And then I looked at this title and I said to myself, I'm going to have to lift up some serious entertainment mojo, because I'm looking at this and it says Inside Star Citizen Mission Statement 3.24. And I'm going to tell you why I'm doing the sad trombone right now. First off, 11 minutes, okay? 11 minutes and 55 seconds. I was hoping for a longer episode, number one. Number two, I'm thinking to myself, are they just replying to all the drama because people are talking about 3.24? You know my slant on this. My opinion is all the patches, it's all semantics. Like the way they number the patches, the way they work about the patches, the what they're putting on the roadmap, it's all semantics. All right? They're going to work on what they decide to work on. It's fan funded. This is a fan funded game. We are essentially the publishers. I talked about this last week, but yet we vote with our pocketbook. So if we're really truly upset at the progress or lack thereof, whatever you're upset about, if you're upset out there, which I'm not that upset. I'm a patient dude. I understand the scope, but there are people out there that are, they're mad. They got pitchforks and torches and they're upset and they're so focused on the next patch and the next patch. And what do you mean it's 3.24? What do you mean? And they get upset and they fucking go crazy about this shit. And it's semantics. They purposely wanted a fan-funded game. They kickstart the shit out of this because they didn't want deadlines. From the very beginning, they didn't want deadlines. And the only time they're ever going to feel pressure is when the revenues start to go down. And frankly, I don't see it. Do you guys see revenues going down? I don't see revenues going down. It's gangbusters. Every year, it's more revenue coming in. They've been setting records for 3 years straight. Okay, so if people are really that upset, I don't see it in the numbers. And you know what? I'm a numbers guy. I'm a facts guy. I'm a science guy, if you can believe that or not. This big bald dummy you're looking at right now, I go off of the numbers. And I'm looking at the numbers and I see no scale down on the revenue whatsoever. So, maybe they're not feeling any pressure because people are handing them money every which way. So if people are truly upset, I tell the people that are upset to stop spending money. Okay, now let's get going. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because I'm looking at the title, Mission Statement 3.24, and I'm thinking to myself, what does it matter? It's semantics. It's all semantical. So anyway, let's go.
The upcoming Alpha 324 has a variety of life in the verse-changing aspects, including the personal persistence hangars, freight elevators, and the next step forward in physicalized inventory. But with these changes...
Sorry. The echo is now gone. Pepe, don't make me fire you at the very beginning of this show.
Come a new era in cargo-specific mission content.
No.
Different than the commodity runs you might be used to. We spoke in depth about this in our recent Making Missions 2 episode of Star Citizen Live, which you should check out if you haven't already. Your Nick did great. And on this week's ISC, they're joined by Elliot and yet another Nick to show you these new cargo missions and reintroduce us to the long-mentioned Blockade Runner global event.
Okay, we're going to watch a little bit of this at the after party.
How many of these do you think you've done at this point?
Videos for you, I don't know, over 20.
You still like doing them?
Yeah.
This is the third one, so I guess I've done 2 before this.
This will be my second.
What was your first one?
Also Blockade Runner.
This your first one?
Uh-huh.
You nervous? Tiny bit. They gotten easier or harder?
Easier. When I first started, I was focused too much on the camera, and that was making me think too much.
When there's a camera pointed at you, it's still a little bit different than just speaking to people, but...
I've tried to look at you or thought that the camera was someone, it made it easier because it felt like I was just talking to someone.
He's much more seasoned. He's becoming much more of a veteran player in the mix. Elliot, I remember when Elliot first came on, man, he was like all over the place, right? You can see he's become much more of a seasoned professional, Elliot.
Instead of looking at a machine trying to be perfect.
So you stop trying to be perfect.
Yeah, pretty
Good.
much. I'm just like, yeah,
Drop it. Right.
That should have been easy
Good for you. Ooh. Damn, Jared. Damn.
Has been resolved. Civilians are advised to avoid engaging in space travel.
He's like a spicy chicken.
Blockade Runner is an event that focuses on cargo hauling and space combat.
The inhabitants of a station ask for aid. The bad guys have blockaded one of these stations, and the citizens there need help to get certain supplies from outside to go back in.
This is going to be chaotic.
The idea with it is that you would have someone who flies a cargo ship and loads up full of cargo, and then have a bunch of escort ships that help fight them. However, the way they now have to get the cargo means they have to actually go and extract it from pirates who have taken it from the station.
We wanted to make a cargo-based event because a lot of our current events are really heavy on combat. And cargo's been kind of underutilized on the global event
What's up,
scene,
Seraph?
and we
What's
thought
up,
it would be
Retro?
fun to work that into our usual design.
The response we saw from Xenothreat, when we first put Xenothreat out, we really liked when we saw players
Looked like
working
they were
together
new to
in
me.
kind of like a Dunkirk type moment where one person had pulled up, just opened the ramp, a couple of people had cleared the wreck already, and then they're all just throwing cargo into the back of someone's ship. They don't know this person. They've not talked to them, but everyone understands their role in this space they've created. And there's people who are flying above, sort of also protecting against the waves of Ninetales that were coming to the wreck. And it was just this beautiful mix of people who just all kind of knew exactly what role they fit into and asked no questions and just got the job done. We wanted to recreate that feeling in its own event.
All right. It's an interesting concept. It's
So the
going to
flow
be
of
chaos.
Blockade Runner is when you start the mission, you will receive marker points of potential sites where a pirate could be that has stolen cargo from the station that's requesting its return.
A hostile enemy force has attacked one of the LEOs throughout Stanton, and they've stolen a great deal of Zeta Prolonide from it. This Zeta Prolonide's been shipped out, it's being carried away, and the remainder of
Shit, that's the explosive stuff, isn't it? That Zeta Prolonide, that's that like time-based shit that blows up. Uh-oh.
the enemy force
those
that
are big
stayed behind,
containers of it, man.
surrounding the LEO and the
Those
blockade.
Those are big containers.
It's up to players of the verse to chase down these enemy ships that contain the stolen material, defeat them in combat, reclaim the material.
Either via the use of distortion weapons to make sure you get every piece of cargo that's on board the ship, or via killing it and maybe getting less, but you run less of the risk of dying yourself.
Once they do recover the stolen material from the ships scattered throughout space, they'll have to make their way past the blockade and return it to the LEO.
There will be ships flying around that you have to actually disable while trying to land, or else you could lose all of your cargo.
Either way, their goal is to land safely at the LEO with the stolen material on. And once they have that, they get to use our fancy new cargo elevator mechanic to return the stolen cargo to the station.
Okay. Okay.
The reward for Blockade is based off of participation. There will be, similar to Xenothreat, there'll be a bar that fills up with contribution, and every time that bar kind of ticks over, you'll get a payment, and then you'll get a big chunk at the end when all of the SCU amount of cargo has been retrieved back to the station.
Oh, that's if you can get through all the freaking server problems that are going to happen during this event, man. This is going to be one hell of a festival, if you will. So hopefully the servers are acting somewhat okay that you can go ahead and actually collect your reward from this. That's what I'm kind of imagining the worst case scenario being.
So to get all of the cargo, I'd recommend using distortion weapons and boarding the ship. This way you can ensure that you get everything out of the cargo hold. Whereas if you do it the other way, you know, you go from this 100% sort of loot to maybe 30%. There's going to be a big difference to encourage a different type of gameplay that players aren't really used to playing in our game.
Their missions for both sides.
I think a lot of the game loops in our game are a bit drawn out, and I like to think that you can get into the action pretty quick with this, and it's a relatively tight game loop, all things considering. I hope people will be able to jump in and out of it as they see fit and have a good time.
Yes.
In addition to Blockade Runner, we're also adding a bunch of hauling missions that also utilize the freight elevator and instance hangars we're going to get.
Good.
With the introduction of freight elevators, we can now make missions that we were never able to make before.
Up until now, we haven't really had any missions which allow you to use your cargo grid. You won't have to go to various different parts of a station or find a ground station to get your land vehicle. You'll be able to get everything you need for your trip organized in one place.
Okay.
Now, I can just go to my hangar and there's an ASOP terminal in there and I can watch my ship go down and come up and I can have all my boxes out. The ability it gives me to build the missions that I love is insane.
So for me as an economy designer, freight elevators means that I can reward players for new game loops and
new game loops. And the word that keeps being repeated over and over again is reward, which that word reward keeps being repeated over and over again. And I have been stressing that rewards need to be raised the past month. 2 months I've been saying raise rewards. What's up, Eric? Look at you, St. Eric. Look at you go with those 10 gift subs. God bless you.
Next time it's gonna be glass.
God bless you, St. Eric. You are a saint. Thank you for those 10 community subs. They will be very helpful. Christy's rent literally got raised $200. So every single dollar we are going to make these next month or so is just going to go straight to Christy. Bless you, St. Eric. Bless you. Look at that. Look at that hype. I like that hype emoticon. That's cool, man. Okay, thank you, Arcane. Appreciate you. Thank you, Wooksy. Oh, thank you. Do it for Christy. Do it for Christy.
different types of activity that they haven't been able to fully play before, such as loading and unloading your cargo, figuring out logistics, and actually allowing players to monetize that effort and get a suitable reward for it. So the more time and effort that it takes to use the freight elevators and do the hauling missions effectively, the more opportunities I have as an economy designer to find the appropriate rewards for players for that game loop.
Good.
And I don't want to see any Reddit threads on the rewards for these missions, because at the time of filming, we're still weeks away.
That means the numbers you see in this episode aren't the real numbers. Don't go to Reddit. Give this guy a break. They'll be real by the time the thing comes out.
You might be thinking, well, we've been moving boxes for a few years now. Those delivery missions already exist. What makes cargo hauling missions so special? Well, in cargo hauling missions, we're actually...
By the way, let's back up the truck here real quick and notice what Limitless noticed a little bit ago. He said, did he say economy designer? Let's back that truck up a little bit. We need that. We need to hear that. I want to hear more from the economy designer. I like this. I like what freight elevators are going to add. The item kiosks, bringing physicalized cargo. There might be benefits to this, even though right now we've heard from Daft and other members that and Avocados out there that, you know, there's additional steps with these kiosks that make things a little bit, in terms of your physicalized inventory, shall we say, delayed. We'll try and put it nicely. And maybe there's reasons why we're going to this stage. The freight elevator being able to open up more mission types and higher based rewards. And let's just keep being vocal about those rewards. This is a really good thing because it will keep asses in seats. If we continually talk about how rewards need to be raised, I truly do think that there will be more playtime with the gamer base. So let's just keep saying it. Hopefully these new missions will bring people to the game and keep them there. Larger traders, freighters, hull space truckers, people that are industrialists. Let's hope that this brings them to the mix. Let's hope these missions are as good as they can be. I know it's going to be messy. I mean, like, I know anytime they introduce these types of events, they generally get messy and then they calm down a little bit. And I hopefully they got to look at ways when they're bringing these events in to do something with their servers. like the servers usually can't handle the amount of people that are coming in, and the data dump is just way too much for the servers to allocate resources properly. So, let's just try to make these events worthwhile. Don't have the people working at Cloud Imperium put all this work in when people come in, all they're going to have are latency-based issues, because then it's a waste of everybody's time. And I think that's the key lesson here. And we're gonna determine whether we think that as a community, right? When the missions come out, these cargo-based missions, you go ahead, fly them, and see what you think, and see how chaotic it is in a good way or a bad way, and mostly focus on the server-based issues. Let's talk about it next week, or after it comes out. Let's talk about it and let's see what we think. And truly, if they are going to devote the amount of work in Cloud Imperium to people putting in the level design, like Elliot and others, and they're going to get this new economy, well, probably not new, but somebody new to us, this economy designer bringing in new missions, like, let's credit them with the time that they put in by making sure we get some type of stability out of these servers, man. It makes no sense to put all this time in if everybody's going to have latency-based issues, and it'll, I don't want it to be a cluster, you know what I'm saying? And if it's a cluster, then you gotta really think about events. You really have to rethink events, period. So let's see, and let's take it after the patch, and let's see what happens, see if we like it. The cool thing right now is, I've never flown a Vulture before, and a Vulture this month is the ship that you get. So I took out time to learn about salvaging, instead of stealing it. I went out in a Vulture and I learned you press M to get the show on the road. You salvage. It was a good time. I made quite a bit of money salvaging, actually. I think a Vulture is a really great ship to farm creds. From the amount of time I put in, I was like, great. I thought it was a fun time. After I learned how to salvage with the Vulture, I was like, well, this is actually pretty cool. So if you see me in Star Citizen, that's probably what you're going to see me doing. I kind of dig it. It's a little repetitive, but I'm buying salvage sites. I go there, I pay my little fees, go there, strip an arrow, or, I actually took one. I took a salvage mission with a 315, a 300 series, a banana ship, I call them. And it got bugged out. And the server went down. It was like 20,000 credits because I was trying to figure out why are some more than others, and I was trying to figure out why is this more than others. So I was testing out what it was to be a salvager, and I had a really good time doing it. Thank you, Evenlease. Welcome to the fam. Welcome.
Actually allowing you to move real commodity containers with real value through the verse. You're not stuck with 1 SEU boxes. If you're asked to move 400 SEU, those will actually be intelligently packed by the system into different container sizes, which means you'll be able to load them up on your cargo grids for your cargo ships the way you've always wanted to organize them.
These missions will handle high volume of cargo. These missions are built for people who are going to own a Caterpillar, yes. People who are going to own a Hull C. Yes. These are mimicking a logistical framework that's going to be needed in, a system, a universe this big to transport the goods to and from different locations.
They're giving us everything that's going to happen once Quantum gets into effect. They're giving a taste of what's going to happen once Quantum gets into effect, and shipping becomes more than just an A to B fetch quest. So that is good news, because that means you're going to attract more chaos in terms of the good types of chaos where you get player versus player. It's going to be crazy out there, but it's going to give cargo haulers something to do. And I would tell cargo haulers to probably get with human players and get yourself some security, maybe just a little bit during the event. You're going to find out that you're probably going to be targeted a hell of a lot, if not by PvE, by PvP as well. So, watch your 6 space truckers, and, hopefully these rewards are so worth it. By the way, here's something that you can do to prevent an amazing amount of backlash and outcry from space truckers when they start blowing up in all different various types of ways, okay? Because they will. They'll blow up to PvE. They'll blow up to They'll blow up to PvP pirates. They're going to be blowing up left and right. They're going to be popping all over the place. Here's what you can do to compensate these space truckers. Give them mega fucking rewards to complete these missions.
Yes, you're not gonna eat me.
Give these guys huge motherfucking tons of credits for completing these missions because it's going to be so dangerous. Otherwise, what is the point? What is the point if you don't make it juicy? Make it juicy. What's up? Speaking of, yeah, Zavith, what's up? I thought you were futz for a second, Zav. I thought you were futz saying that. Zav says, that's a Big 10-4, DG. But big rewards for these guys. Big rewards.
Let me give you some examples.
I will, David, I will.
You find a mission where a few different outposts on the surface of Hurston have mined some iron, and you've got to bring it up to Lorville, where then it can be transported further from there. So you go to each of these outposts, you land at that location, and there, in the warehouse of that outpost, those containers will be waiting for you where you can call it up through the freight elevator. You load it up into your ship, and then you figure out what the next location is, and the next location, and the next location. And you can basically do those in any order you like.
You'll have single pickup, single drop-off, so this could be picking up from the LEOs around ArtCorp, the Lagrange points, for example, and taking it to Area 18 or to Beijing Point, the station above. Then you'll have a multi-pickup and a singular drop-off. And then the opposite of that, which is singular pickup to multi-drop-off, could be the complete opposite, where you go from a Hurston DC to 2 other outposts delivering goods. It also lets us do a first static setup of what is being called StarSim, where we can test out the flow and then actually make the dynamic side of it work, where we can balance it based off of the needs and wants of the actual locations.
The work that I was involved with missions with Yorit was to use the EVR algorithm that I created to make sure that all of the effort that you put in has a commensurate reward. EVR was to use the EVR algorithm that I created to make sure that all of the effort that you put in.
What is he saying? The EVR algorithm?
Has a commensurate reward. EVR stands for effort versus reward. The EVR algorithm is a general balancing algorithm
He's saying EVR, effort versus reward.
Developed that takes into account the time and the difficulty of what you're doing, and it gives you a reward that is appropriate for that.
Yes, you're not gonna eat me.
This is both good and bad, and I'm going to tell you the good thing. Right now, in the alpha state and where we're at, and we got these fetch quests, A and B, it's a good placeholder. It's a good placeholder right now to keep people interested in doing these types of tasks and rewarding the space truckers. For that, I will give it this.
Yes, you're not gonna eat me.
It's not necessarily a good thing, because in the future, once the economy's flushed out and we get quantum, I think that's still how we're going. Where the hell's Tony at? It's very interesting. I'm not seeing Tony here. Do you guys find that just as interesting that we're hearing from this economic advisor or economic designer, but we're not seeing Tony at all? It's who else? Put a 1 if you think that's a little bit like there's a little sus thing going on here. I'm not quite sure, but like I'm feeling something, you know what I mean? So put a 1 if you also are kind of feeling the same way as I am a little bit. Right, it's a little sus. We got the economic advice, but here's the good thing. We've been screaming economy, we've been screaming rewards, right? Look what's happening. Boom, boom. So the voice is out there. The voice is being heard. I like this. I like this. It's almost like every time we talk about something on the show, we get a follow-up on the show, and it's like we were talking about server meshing, dynamic server meshing. Last week, dynamic server meshing is an episode. Was I happy with that episode? Not really. I'm glad they kind of addressed where they're at. The fact that they were saying it worked, I was like, I didn't talk about that enough. I should have gone off on that tangent a little bit when they were saying, well, it worked. And it's like, is it working? Like I should have talked about that a little bit more last week. But the interesting thing is it seems like every time we're talking about issues that need to be put up here and talked about in the public eye, it seems like the show following, boom, they're covering it. They're not maybe covering it to the way, to the best way, but at least they're putting it out there and they're making things transparent. So it's nice that they're responding to our voice. But it is a little sus that Tony Z's not in this talking about the economy, that this guy they're using, and God knows how long he's been at this position. I'd imagine probably a while. Maybe he's getting on camera for the first time. But like, I like this EVR, effort versus reward. It's great right now as a placeholder, but in the future, I'm concerned because me, I'm much more of a player-driven economy guy. A lot of people poo-poo me and they don't like my point of view on that. But like personally, the best demand is human demand. Gives you the best pricing. And when you have humans deciding what actually is the most needed thing, usually you'll get the profit if you are somebody that is crafting it or trading it. And that's generally why I like player-driven economies. Also, people scream exploits, exploits, and people are so worried about price gouging. But the simple fact of the simple fact of the matter is those exploits are juicy for traders, and those exploits are called profit in the real world. By the way, I just want people to understand that it is the way that traders trade. The exploit in the pricing between the demand and supply and that margin that you make between what you bought it at and what you sold it at, that margin, okay, that's the exploit. That's the profit, okay? And that profit is determined upon a lot of different variables. The scarcity of the item, the location of the item, a whole bunch of factors, okay? So, like, people need to understand that about the economy, period. So when we're talking about not having the real player-driven demand in there and we're going to simulate it with AI, then I ask the question, will the AI do a good job at actually simulating human demand? I mean, like, even right now with AI and the way we see it with these LLMs, these learning language models, you can tell when what's in an AI. You can tell when an AI is talking to you. You can tell. Eventually you won't. It's not here yet, though, right? So, like, I would imagine that the quantum or the quanta, which Tony Z initially talked about, CitizenCon, I think back in 2017, 2018, that's going to give you a simulated human demand, right? I imagine that even if you applied an algorithm that was AI-based right now, that you're still going to see the differences. And so I want to make sure this effort versus reward, this EVR, is something that is put into the coding after the fact that quantum's in there so that it doesn't mess up this supposed simulated demand that we're going to get. But we're light years away. So for right now, I like the EVR based model because frankly, we're in the alpha mode, and we're in this alpha mode and truckers need paid. And so boost up the rewards, and that's fine. But I surely would like to hear more from this economic designer. I think it's good to see him, regardless that it's not Tony. And I want to hear more about the economy. So I like the new missions. I think it's a step in the right direction. Is it going to solve everything right away? Absolutely not. But it is a step in the right direction.
So if you do something that takes a long time...
What's up, Diva? What's up,
but
Even?
Isn't very difficult, or if you do something that takes a short time but is very difficult, you're going to get appropriately rewarded. So obviously, this kind of thing, effort and reward, isn't a new concept. It's been around since the beginning of computer games. But as the economy team moves forwards and we work on all of the exciting new features that are coming out, we're really happy to be able to bring this kind of coherent approach to the entire game economy.
I like to hear that coherent approach. Okay, first off, I got to say this. This guy's saying all the right things. He's talking the talk. Like, I mean, he's talking the talk, man. Now, here's the thing. Will the walk, right? And that's the interesting thing. We still are waiting to see after these missions are implemented to see if the rewards are there and this EVR model is actually something worth it. Damon says the fact that they want to simulate human demand in the game to me means either Chris is such a control freak or he wants to control how players play the game, or they want to show off fancy tech. It's not the fancy tech part. It's not the fancy tech part. And yes, he's a control freak, but that's not it either. It is actually that he wants to control how players play the game. It is option number 2, Damon. And the reason why it's option number 2 is because so many people are scared about price gouging. There is such a big player base, and primarily it's a PvE player base that is concerned about price gouging. And I question that those PvEers actually know anything about crafting or trading. They're probably just very simplistic space dads that want to go from A to B. Nothing wrong with that. No, not trying to offend space dads that truck A to B. Okay, that's a legitimate style of gameplay. You want to play your games that way, that's cool. You want to veg out and just space out. Okay, but you have to realize this is an MMO with danger. Or this is an Elite Dangerous. Can I get an amen that it's not Elite Dangerous?
Yes, sir. Can I get an amen? Yeah.
Give me an amen on that one, because I do not want this to turn into Elite Dangerous. Okay. if I would highly recommend that space dads that want to do the space trucking from A to B and not want to be bothered, go play Elite Dangerous. Like, seriously, because I don't think Star Citizen is the game for you. And I'm trying to be nice. I'm not trying to be an asshole here. I'm actually trying to suggest a game for that type of gamer. I think if you want, like, no one bothering you, there's plenty of space in Elite Dangerous where nobody's bothering you. Go there, play that game. You'll be super happy. And you don't have to worry about anybody. Hell, they even made a safe mode for people, which is totally not needed, because when you're playing online with other people, you very rarely even run into anybody in that game, for God's sake. So, if you're that type of player, go play Elite Dangerous. I wouldn't suggest Star Citizen. Star Citizen's for those people that actually can handle the danger. And there's plenty of people out there, by the way, that don't generally voice up because they don't need to, that are PvEers that can handle PvP situations. There's plenty of them. You just don't hear from them. You always hear from the loudest voices. And the loudest voices don't really represent the majority, by the way. It's just the people who have loud voices. They're usually butthurt about something. And so, you got to be careful when you're a developer that you're not listening to the loud voices all the time. Right? I mean, like, the loud voices are usually not the majority. It's just the people that are polar fucking extremes and usually just, like, way out there and, whoa, kind of a little bit mental. And you got to be careful as a developer not to really put too much stock in the loudest voices, right? But the reason why, to answer your question, Damon, that this is happening, that we're getting quantum, and that Tony Z showed us what he showed us to simulate human player-driven demand, is there's a very loud voice out there where people are worried about being manipulated. Like, oh no, this price gouging's horrible. And a lot of the people that are with the loudest voices don't understand supply-demand economics. Supply and demand. Very basic supply and demand. Those people don't understand it because they're not involved in that. And in EVE Online, where there is a player-driven economy, there are armchair warriors that get it, that love it. That's the juice for them. That's why they play the game. They love finding areas that are not tapped by anybody, that they can go in and make crazy amounts of margin. And that's a legitimate game style. And there's a lot more players like that than there are ones that are butthurt whining about being price gouged, frankly. And that's just facts. And so when they went from this player-driven idea to a more AI kind of algorithmic based economy, I was very concerned. And when I voiced up, there were a lot of people that were angry with me and said, don't worry about this, DG, everything's gonna be okay. And I was worried about it. And then I saw the presentation at CitizenCon with Tony Z, and he explained quantum, and I was pretty fascinated. I was actually quite fascinated by what was shown to me. And yet now we're like 4 or 5 years later, I need more information now, and I'm not getting any more information. But what I am seeing is an economic designer that I've never heard of before. So I don't know how long he's been working on this team. I would like a little bit more information on this dude. And I like the way this dude's talking. He sounds well informed about economic gameplay. Hopefully he's got some type of economic degree. Would be nice as well. business degree and understands basics in business would be nice. But it sounds like he does.
Happy to be able to bring this kind of coherent approach to the entire game economy.
Yeah, I like.
In the
the
end,
way he's talking.
cargo hauling missions aren't about how good you are at shooting
me
the
too,
bad
Eric,
guys.
me too.
It's about figuring out which hauls the universe needs. And ultimately, it's about having fun delivering some boxes. Thanks for watching, everybody.
Was he wrapping up the show for everybody?
So what did we learn this week? Well, hopefully that the cargo missions aim to provide a more involved and deliberate experience than the commodity ones you might be used to.
We also learned that we're still not talking about Tony Z. They're still like they got to stop this. They got to just say what the fuck's going on. Like they got, like, to me, just let's stop this shit. Just tell us what happened to Tony. Can I get some ones in chat? I mean, like, really, just drop the facade, or, you know, like, just let's go. Let's talk about this. Let's be frank. Let's be honest with us. Like, what's going on with Tony? Enough of this shit. Like, we've been talking like this for a year, and I think it's culminating, and it's like, especially now we're talking about the economy. Where's Tony? What's going on with Tony? Is there something we can find out? Is there something you can tell us? Allude to something even. Look at all the ones. You see all the ones in chat?
That the Blockade Runner will benefit from boarding tactics more than simply just blowing things up. And that while your everyday life in the verse certainly changes in Alpha 324, it will continue to evolve in the subsequent 4.0 and beyond. And if you'd like to learn even more about these cargo missions, you can tune in to tomorrow's Star Citizen Live, where the team will talk even more about the stuff you saw here. For insights.
Okay, maybe we should check that out on tomorrow's show. What do you guys think? That
Star
sounds like
Citizen,
a good one.
I'm Jared Huckabee. Thanks for letting us share the people and process of game development with you. And we'll see you all here
What's up,
next week.
Orson? All right. Okay. All right. Not bad. Step in the right direction. A little more information would have been great. A little more background on this economic designer would be wonderful. A little more background on what the hell is happening to Tony. A little bit more background on what's happening with Quantum, or this algorithm that we were sold on a few years back. What's going on there? So overall, I like the fact. Here's what I do like. I like that we're stepping in the right direction. Okay, I like that it seems as if they're listening to us almost on every episode. They're responding to everything that we're talking about. Let's see if they respond to this. It'll be very interesting to see if we get any information about what these facts. If you actually are starting to see this pattern, I would say, hey, cool, welcome to DG360. This has been something that's always happened since the beginning of this channel. I know someone at Cloud Imperium watches. I know we don't get tons of views here, but it seems as if like the voice of the fans are here on DG360. It seems like the core and the heart and the spirit of a Star Citizen fan is here on DG360.
Yes! You're not gonna eat me! Yes!
Because when we talk about these issues together, it seems like quite literally we get a response. So thank you all for putting this voice out there. I'm only saying my own thoughts and what I see in my Discord and from the DMs from everyone here. And you know, I would just like to say to Cloud Imperium, I think right now the time has come where we have the Tony talk and the economy talk, and we continue this, and hopefully tomorrow on Star Citizen Live, they're going to talk a little bit more about this. And it's time to go to the after party. Thank you, everybody who's watching the Inside Star Citizen Review on YouTube. Thank you. Sorry you could not be here. Try to get here 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every Thursday night. Please press the like button. Share this. Get the word out here. We've been doing this for years upon years. We are big fans, and we shouldn't feel ashamed to be fans, and we shouldn't feel ashamed to dream big, and we shouldn't feel ashamed that we want the everything game. You know, so, you know, when you're starting to hear people get really upset, just, you know, really kind of question maybe why they're getting upset. There's a lot of reasons, a lot of legitimate ones and a lot of illegitimate reasons why people get upset. But at the end of the day, if you're getting really upset, just play another title or go outside, man, because this is going to take a long time. This is not going to be easy. This was never going to be easy. I went into this knowing this was going to be very difficult to do. So here we are. We're still here. I'm still a fan. Ups and downs, fucking roller coaster. And I'll never stop covering it. It's one of the best journeys I've ever had. It's one of the best experiences I've ever had in my entire life. It's fun. I get to meet great people, and I hear everybody's viewpoints. We're not a fucking echo chamber. There's plenty of people in here like Damon and others that are like scam citizen and upset with it. But everybody's an adult here, and everybody has a good time here, and everybody's open-minded here. And I like this type of community. I endorse this type of community. And I want to foster its growth. And we've been doing wonderful here. And thank you for such a great year in 2024 on DG360. Thank you, everybody. It's time for the after party. See you. Peace out, YouTube. Try and get your butts here live.